Hi, my name's Jonathan Hicks. I'm back at the Dice Cup, and this evening I'm joined by
Steve.
Mark. And we just finished playing Mandala Stones, which is an abstract strategy game. It feels a bit like Azul. It's that kind of very pretty pieces. I should say the quality of these pieces is fantastic. They feel great in the hand when you're moving them around. But essentially you're trying to score points. As you can see, this is my board, and we are scoring points when moving them around the track. But the way you do that is either by start off with taking stones off the board and adding them onto these stacks here, or you score the stacks that you've managed to acquire. Now the way you take the stones off the board is you have to move one of the artists, as they're called. So for example, I could move this one, and whatever spot you put it in, you get to take the things around it. So I go here, and they have to match this symbol. So this symbol, there's basically two kinds of patterns. There's a sort of, I was going to say flower pattern, but this one's sort of flowery as well, spiral pattern. So I would get to take this one here, and I can't take this one because it's blocked. If one of these stones is next to another artist, you don't get to get it. So going here wouldn't be a very good move, because I only get one stone. I would take this, and when you take it, it has to go onto an empty stack somewhere on here. Also, you kind of want to match the colours you've already got. You'll see why in a second. So let me not do that, that's a rubbish move. Instead, I could maybe go over here, look, because I want to get blues. You see I've got blues, or purples are good. And if I go here, the pattern matches this one and this one. Now you pick one of them and you go clockwise. So if I want the blue one on top, I would start with the blue one and then work around to here. But if I wanted the purple one on top, I'd start with the purple one and go around that way. So I want the blue one on top, so I'm going to take this, go clockwise round, take this, and then add them to an empty stack. And I'm going to put them on this stack. Notice though that you kind of, when you're doing this, thinking about what other people are going to do. Instead of moving this one, if I move this one, I'm potentially leaving people with a very good move, because there's like a whole bunch of these spirally patterns that people could take. So the other thing you can do is score, and that's what the little pictures are underneath here. So if I were to score, you score everything that's the same colour. So in this case I could score 1, 2, 3 of my stacks because they're all blue. I don't get to score the purple one because it's not the same colour. With this one, you're scoring different heights of stacks. So you look across your whole board and see how many different kinds of stacks. I've got stacks of height 1, of height 2, of height 0, that's still 2. So I've got 3 different heights of stacks. This one, when I take it off, scores me 3 points. This, because it's the bottom one in the stack, scores me 4 points, if you can see that. So that's 7. This one is the second from the bottom, so it scores me 3 points. So when I score this, that's 10. And no more blue ones, so that will be the end of my scoring. You then take these things and you put them on the board in the middle, and we start in the middle and we spiral our way around the outside. And if you cover up anything with extra points, you get extra points. That's another 2 points. I get 12 points, which I would add on to my score. And as this spirals around, it's also a timer. When the stones get round to this in a 3-player game, or obviously this in a 4-player game, that immediately ends the game, and we see who has the most points. What do you think?
It looks nice, and it feels like an Azul weight game. So if you like Azul and you want probably a less thinky version of Azul, you've still got decisions on your turn, don't get me wrong, but I don't think you can plan ahead. It's a very reactive game, and often I don't really know what my choices are until it's my turn. And it feels like you either make the move that's best for you, that gets you the most pieces, or you make a move where you don't allow the opponent to have a really good move. So if there's a piece blocking what would be a really good move, you just leave it there. And there was a spot in the game that got stuck right at the start. It got blocked, and there were 4. I can show you it now. There were 4 circles here, and we spent the whole game with that there. As soon as that gets moved away, someone has a move probably to come in here and get 3 or 4 pieces, and so we spent the game playing with 3 artists. I feel like you've got a lack of control. I don't feel like I had control of the colours I got to pick each turn. I mean, I did have a choice, but in terms of, like, I wanted to get blues and yellows because I had blues on top and yellows underneath for my first 2 picks. My 3rd pick, I couldn't do that. I had to take a double yellow. My 4th pick, I'm like, well, I'll just score and hope I get something better next turn. So I think this would be a very good 2-player game, where your decision of best move for me or denying my opponent is much more relevant. Here, if I spend the move doing the best for me or denying Mark, I'm not interacting with Jonathan at all. And Mark could let Jonathan win, and it wouldn't be anything to do for me to stop Jonathan or something like that. So for an abstract game, I think it's a light, fun one for 3 or 4 players. I think it's a much better 2-player game.
Okay. Mark?
I think probably the answer to this is Steve's better versed in this style of game than me to give a better opinion. But from my perspective, it's a little bit the chaos of it going on because you don't know what's going to happen till it gets back around to you. Is distraction for something that could be quite AP prone. So you're both AP prone and can't plan ahead. It's a great combination for something this way and the amount of time you'd hope to this would take to play. I could see this with more players, like 4 being even worse. So I mean, I didn't find it was awful, but with the wrong people and this style of game, you can get quite bored. Also, Azul has that fun bit of don't take that and like that piece because it's going to do me in or whatever combinations and that kind of that. This tactic does have that because I'd be like, well, I kind of want those bits, but for some reason I just care less. Whereas I really don't want you to take the bit that draw from the one I want to get, draw stuff from. In this, I'll try and find other combinations. There's a lot of time you kind of look about, I'll go there and you go, oh, I can't take that. Oh, I'll go there, oh, I can't take that. Oh, I'll go there in the end. And that's how a lot of my goes ultimately felt was I just went with the best available option that time and I kind of took it as that. So, yeah, I cared less about what the people were doing, probably because of how chaotic and blocking it was ultimately at the end, and I just kind of accepted it and just picked what was best available at any one time rather than try to plan ahead for a better strategy, I guess.
Rating?
It's not too bad, I guess. I'll give it a 6.
Steve?
It's a fine game, just not for me. 5.
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting one, this one. As Steve says, it would be much more strategic with 2 players. It is a bit too chaotic, I think, at higher play numbers, but to a certain extent, you're then trying to make the best of what's given you, if you like. And as long as everyone is not leaving anyone with a really great move where they get lots of tiles, then to a certain extent, you're all struggling with restrictions. The one thing I really like about it is the tricky decision in terms of when you decide to score. So just to show you the board again, you can see some of these stacks. You want to pick them off, you want to make these very tall, but other ones, you really want this to be quite short because you're getting much more points for picking the bottom ones off it, and this is like a medium one. And are you better off trying to get more purple ones, or when you look at the board, if you're like, well, I can't get a purple, maybe I should just score now. You also have the ability to take, if you've got lots of different colours on the top, you can just take the top colour off each pile, only get 1 point for it, but then it might free up your board later. So trying to decide, is it worth trying to get an extra stack and then scoring it, like delaying it as long as possible so you get a really great scoring, or scoring more frequently and not getting as many points each time? I think it's not obvious, and certainly I found it quite interesting. So I really enjoyed it, and I think if you are playing with a group who don't care too much, if they're not the kind of gamers who will really want to do the best, the people who I suppose who traditionally like abstract strategy games might not actually be that keen on this unless it's 2-player. A higher play count, playing this with casual gamers, I think would actually work very well because they won't care too much. Like, oh, this is good for me, they'll try that and they'll score points, and it's fun. I would give it 7 out of 10. Alright, thanks for watching. That was Mandala Stones.